We are going to stay in the Zoom room now as we are going to shift to matters of island education, of course, on the Guam Department of Education and what has gone on with the plans regarding school plans for testing, for vaccination, and parental feedback, as well as that of stakeholders, has been on the forefront of many a Guamanian for the past few days. So we welcome back into the Zoom room Superintendent of Public Education, Jon Fernandez, as well as Isaiah Uggan, who covers education for us here. Good morning, gents.
Last week, before we hit Christmas break, hit the holiday break, and I think a well-deserved break for, after this semester of trying to reopen back to normal after being shut down due to the Delta wave, and then of course trying to get back to 5 days of instruction. So I definitely know that many of our students, families, and our educators, our administrators at the schools are going to welcome this couple of weeks to just, again, recuperate, reflect on where we are, and then hopefully start the new year with another, boost of energy and focus on, again, getting through this school year safely, and with students back to class. So we'll continue to work on that with our administrators. I guess there's a couple of things that are on the agenda. I know you're aware that we had a meeting with stakeholders last week, really intended for parents to weigh in on the 5 to 11-year-old vaccination push that is being recommended by public health, with the new vaccine and with, I guess, Omicron on the horizon. So we definitely support the efforts to make vaccines available. But we did want to hear from parents because there was some inquiries from public health about whether or not we should provide vaccinations during school hours for parents and students who are interested. So based on the parent feedback, there seemed to be a lot of concern about moving in that direction. We still are awaiting. I'm hoping to get feedback today on the latest in terms of the survey that was pushed out for parents to respond to. But at this point, given where we are in the school year, we'll continue to work with public health and the planning team to see what the path might be starting in January. As when we go on break, students will not be in school. The teachers, nurses, and so forth will be on a 2-week break. So definitely, if we're going to do anything, it's most likely going to have to start in January, whether it's after school, weekends, or if there's anything else that changes, we'll have to let the public know when we return for the new year. So that's basically where we are with that particular subject matter. We're also going to take the 2 weeks to kind of look at our student testing plan. Again, as we informed everybody, the priorities are always dictated by the current circumstances, and over the past month, the priority of public health really was to move into accelerating the 5 to 11 vaccination. So, again, that's kind of been on our radar to try to work with public health and to see what we can do to support. But we will be taking a look at our student testing plan. There were still areas that we needed public health feedback on and review before we pushed anything forward. But I think I mentioned to you earlier, there is a lot that goes into trying to test 10% of our students on a regular basis. I mean, we have 2,600, between 26,000 and 27,000 students. So trying to do 10%, which will be about 2,600, is going to be something that we really will need to figure out how to accomplish. Our only experience at this point really has been with our employees, where we're vaccinating basically maybe 5 to 10% of that amount just to do on a weekly basis. So it's not going to be an easy thing to do, but definitely something we want to finalize and at least have a decision made, in early January as we return for the second semester. Another thing that's going on is we've been listening to our schools and working with our federal funding partners to try to start pushing these funds into our school facility needs. So one of the things that we are working on this morning with schools, we met with the board and we talked about the big projects that need to get funded. And so those big projects are, these are projects like, repairing all the canopies at all the schools. In order to do that, we have to, do an assessment at all campuses, put together a bid package to go out to vendors to basically submit their proposals and be evaluated to be awarded that work. That's a procurement issue. It takes time. And so, we definitely are working, to move that ahead. But in the meantime, there are, we've heard from schools, there are a lot of minor repairs and minor issues that we believe, or they believe they can take care of if, with their PTOs, with their staff, if only we had the supplies available. So we have $1 million set aside to support, that immediate, push. Some of that money will be for our facilities and maintenance team, but the remainder of it, we're looking at between $600,000 to $800,000 of that amount will be apportioned to schools for them to go out immediately to vendors to purchase the supplies that they can use to repair doorknobs, light bulb, replace light bulbs, and other things that they can do with staff or with volunteers that don't require skill and expertise to get that done. So we're very excited about that. We're calling it our mid-year facilities blitz. And with the funding that each school will get, they'll be able to go out, during the break, and actually they can schedule it throughout the month of January. Take those, supports and immediately begin to address some of the things that are more minor and don't need to wait, for procurement. We already have agreements with vendors that have been established for these supplies. The procurement is already done. It's just a matter of, instead of us going through our facilities division, the schools have said, let us go directly, give us an allocation, let us go get what we need, and we'll make all those repairs, and we'll let you know, what we've been able to accomplish. So we're really looking forward to that. That was a suggestion from the board, and we explored it, and it made sense as long as we could, work that out with the schools. And so those conversations with principals are taking place this morning, just to kind of finalize the things that they need to sign off on, just to reinforce the requirements to authorize, their employees to go to the vendors and pick up those supplies, and just to make sure that they're aware of the process for accounting for all the items that they are purchasing. Because again, these are federal funds, so we do need to come back on the tail end, after the repairs are done, to make sure that we have the documentation to support that. So that's something that we're very excited we'll be able to launch now that we are heading into the break. And then just finally, I just want to go on the record. I was up on a phone call at 7 o'clock this morning, and I just want to mention that there are those in the community who are paying attention to the financial side of the equation with DOE, and high risk and special conditions and the third party fiduciary are among those issues. So we were very happy this morning. Congressman Mike Nicholas was able to get us on a call with the senior advisor to the secretary, Mr. Chris Soto, and the risk management team at very senior levels, to be able to have a conversation with us about setting some timelines, over the next few months to hopefully, remove third-party fiduciary oversight, or at least begin that process again before the summer. So we do have, out of this conversation, I believe we will have a virtual monitoring visit that'll happen in January, but even more important, an on-site visit by U.S. Department staff sometime this spring to make sure that we can close out some of these pending items that we believe we've accomplished, but have to be validated on site before they can be taken off the list. So I just want to thank Congressman Mike Nicholas for making that call happen today. And so we're going to follow up with him shortly.
Well, that's huge. That's huge news, John.
I'll go ahead and leave it there, and just see if you have any questions on any of those matters.
Right on. And I'm going to go ahead and fold into the convo our education reporter, Isaiah Uggan of the KUAM News Team. Isaiah, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Isaiah.
Superintendent, the Senator Amanda Shelton waived the service learning hours a couple years ago, but that was for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors and seniors have already graduated. I'm wondering whether or not the service learning hours is required for freshmen, sophomores this year.
So in order to graduate, like you said, there was a waiver that was put in place, and it applied to every high school student who was in high school 2 years ago, right? So if you were a freshman 2 years ago, no matter, you don't need those service learning hours to graduate. Now, the challenging part is now that we're 2 years later, the incoming freshmen and sophomores technically do have that requirement in place. Our plan is to go to seek that extension of that waiver with the legislature. I believe we were waiting for some final decisions from the board on our learning recovery strategy. As you know, when we sought the waiver, it was not just service learning, but also for the instructional hours at the same time. And so I believe in January, we were hoping to close out that discussion and then maybe go to the legislature at that point. Right now, we were, again, with the learning recovery being an important facet of this discussion, the question has been whether or not we are going to try to make those 180 hours up by looking at extending the school day or going into summer, or whether we need a waiver and flexibility to be able to make up that instructional time in other ways. So again, the board, we had a work session on it. I believe that we'll probably have to make that decision by January at the latest, and then from there we'll know what we need to ask from our legislature to get us through this school year.
What was the retreat that you guys streamed on Facebook all about?
The retreat was really, it was an opportunity for the board to, get together and kind of go through the draft strategic plan that is being, I believe that's also on a time frame to be reviewed and approved, hopefully by January. So, as part of the strategic planning process, it really is a matter of kind of updating the priorities of the department and looking out maybe, for the next 5 years as to what our goals and objectives ought to be in our plan. It's not just a matter of helping to prioritize and focus the department. It also helps with our discussions around funding. So when we go to GDOE every year to get guidance on our formula grants that we normally receive, it is normally required to be in line with your state plan, and our state plan is our strategic plan. So when we propose the use of our funds, they're going to want to see that it's in line with the priorities that we've agreed on and stated and put out to the public. So that's why it's important to get it done.
What's the latest with the 3 employees who were placed on annual leave? Are they still with the department? Because I know one of them had resigned on December 3rd.
Yeah, so remember, I just want to be clear. When we said 3, we said 3 and we meant 3 teachers. It actually was 3 teachers and 1 staff. So now we are, 1 teacher has resigned. So there are 2 teachers and 1 staff member who are now, technically in non-compliance. I did receive, we did have the hearing with Senator Nelson and the Education Committee. I have been in touch with Art St. Augustine to try to clear up this issue of any pending exemptions from that are still with public health. And so to date, I haven't received a confirmation of whether those exemptions are approved or not. But I do know that Director St. Augustine did respond, and he's trying to, ensure a response, hopefully by today or, no later than the end of this week. It is really important if that's, an item that employees are depending on to enable them to be exempted from the testing and the vaccination, that be resolved. Because, I think, right now they are using their own, sick leave or other types of leave to get through these, pay periods. And I don't know that we want that to go on too long without some clarity on whether or not those exemptions are approved. So that's something, again, out of the hearing, that was our follow-up, make sure that we try to clear that issue up. It's not cleared yet, but I need to hopefully get it by the end of this week.
The one staff, is he in contact with students, or he or she?
No, those who are not in compliance are on leave. So they're not.
My apologies. I meant to ask if he was a school aide, he or she was a school aide, but never mind. The students that were, I guess, unaccounted for, have you guys located any, or what's the latest you guys have in regards to that?
So again, I think, I'd have to go back to the numbers, but right now, what I know is a challenge is that even if attendance rates are, I think we mentioned in our earlier meeting, they are a few percentage points down from where we normally would be. And part of what we're working on when we're waiting from the governor is her consideration for what she wants to do with the truancy law. So as you know, there is a compulsory law that requires parents to send their children to school until they reach the age of 18. They used to be until they reach the age of 16, but that was recently changed to go to 18. So it is our responsibility to take attendance and to look at those who have repeated unexcused absences. And when they get to a certain level, there are interventions with parents and then eventually with our school resource officers to go out and to locate these families and students to determine what the issue is, and if it really is a willful decision not to comply with the compulsory requirements, that ends up as possibly being in court as a truancy case. Right now, we're just monitoring. We're trying to reach students and parents, but we don't really have the toolkit to go further than just checking in and seeing. So we're aware that there are parents who may not feel safe and are just refusing to send their kids to school, but there really isn't yet a penalty or an incentive for them to come back. And we understand it, but we also are concerned. We are concerned about those children who are missing out on returning to the classroom. So again, I'll have to talk to Deputy Erica about those numbers and where they're at. But again, I think the challenge right now is it's hard to bring those numbers down from where they are without the extra incentive of saying, look, this is a requirement. You have to come to school. And so I think parents know that, and they're hopefully they're going to feel better, as we head into January with sending their kids back. Over the past month, we've seen very, very low numbers. We're seeing 0 cases in the past few days, but very, very low numbers in terms of, positive cases reporting from our schools. So we hope to maintain that and hopefully build that confidence back that what's happening at school is safe and kids can go safely back to face-to-face instruction.
Do you think that number will go up with the Omicron variant spreading widely in the States?
Well, I think those who are back at school, I think those who are back at school may have a more favorable experience knowing that the case numbers are low, getting used to the routine. There was a lot of anxiety in the first week, but I know a lot of teachers, a lot of administrators and students are feeling better about where we are now because the numbers have really been low. So I don't think really things will change unless we start to see another spike start to happen in those numbers. And so we track every day, we report every day, we report every week what those trends look like. And so right now we are monitoring because we do hear from public health that Omicron it may be here already or definitely coming, and we certainly recognize that. One of the things we have to really learn more about is there seems to be some debate about knowing that it's more contagious, but not really being sure whether it has the severity of the past variants. So that's something that we need. I hope the public health will help us factor into the equation and how we should be reading these numbers. So hopefully we'll go into the break we'll learn more about, on the public health side, and then coming back in January, hopefully have a better read on what's coming our way. But I think that, for now, what I'm hearing, and this is just anecdotal, what I'm hearing from parents and students is that, yes, it was hard to come back and feel safe, but now that we're back in the groove, people do feel more confident. But I know that, if you see an uptick in numbers community-wide, I'm sure that's going to raise questions and anxieties again. And so we'll have to, we're with the community in that standpoint. We don't know the public health side. We're not the experts on the health side. So what we're doing is, similar to what our parents, our families are doing. We're watching the numbers and we're trying to make informed decisions about what we can do to safely, continue at school.
Are you ready for the virtual oversight hearing today in regards to your guys' budget?
Yes, I don't think, I think we're there ready to present information as needed to the Education Committee. The two things there that I believe are on the agenda are, one is our local budget. And I think, like you, just the legislature following our discussion about the $45 million operational shortfall that we identified for the board. And then, of course, we came back to the board with a plan to address that shortfall, using as much as we can from allowable federal funds. So that's something we'll walk through that plan, which I've shared with the legislature, just for them to review today so we can go over that. And then the other part of the agenda was federal funds. And it said all federal grants. So that, may include our annual consolidated grant, but I'm sure they're going to want to know about our ESF and ARP grants that we're currently using as part of COVID-19 relief. So, we're happy to discuss, the issue and share where we are with resources. And I don't think it'll be much surprise there. These are things that we talk about in public regularly. So, it'll just be a matter of ensuring that the information that they need is transmitted and provided for their purposes.
Yeah, John, is your Xerox machine working over there at GDOE?
For what? Oh, everything's electronic now.
Yeah.
Everything.
No, because there was a hospital hearing, and I think Speaker was trying to ask the hospital people, "Hey, where's these documents?" They're like, "Oh, our Xerox machine is broken."
Oh my gosh! I have to say that the past couple of years, I have appreciated the fact that we have everything electronic now, because I was trying to look back a few years, trying to explain the fact that when we say shortfall, it's not something that we just had occur this year. If you go back several years, you can track from where we were with 237 million budget to where we are today, a 206 million budget. The demands haven't changed, the requirements haven't changed, the mandates haven't changed, but the dollar amount has changed. So, that's something that we understand. There's a financial challenge that the island has to deal with. Some of it, coming from other sources, some of it coming from COVID-19. We do have a plan to address it this year, and we're grateful for the federal funds to offset the local gap. And then, I think next year is going to be where it's really going to be interesting as to how we address the budget challenges at that point, because, we need to ensure that we're investing these federal resources appropriately. And if we're using it to just offset operational gaps, that's going to take away from those purposes, such as investing in our facilities that we've been, planning for the bulk of those resources to be used for.
All right, Isaiah,
anything else you like? Oh, Superintendent, do you have anything else you'd like to add on?
No, I'm just like like I said before, it's been a really, really tough semester, and I'm glad that, we're able to get everybody back to 5 days of instruction. Really glad the sports continued. We see our kids out there competing and enjoying themselves. And I hope we can carry that, over the break, give everybody a chance to celebrate the holidays with family and, celebrate the good things that we have. But, come in with that same spirit next year and hopefully sustain that through the rest of the year. I think all of us are fatigued by COVID-19, and it surely is disruptive to everything that we're trying to do for our young kids. So we're hoping that we can, get through this and continue to focus on education matters on educational issues and kind of move past this health emergency. But again, who knows what the future holds. It's just hope everybody stays safe and, we can work together on this.
John, I'm sorry, on this service learning hours, because I don't want to leave this parent hanging, but they had a further question on the discussion of service learning hours. Would the 9th and 10th graders be required to complete the 4 years total of hours or be adjusted for the remaining 2 years, for example, 10th graders? If so, will there be options for online students to obtain those hours?
So right now, technically, the service learning hours are required, but we do plan to address that with the legislature because, again, it's the same. The similar conditions exist for our freshmen and sophomores as they do for our juniors and seniors. So I don't think that's really the controversy right now. I think the issue that needs to be remained is because they didn't just do the suspension of service learning. It was the service learning plus the instructional hours mandate. So we are actually focused on the instructional hours mandate and determining what we need from the legislature. And so by January, we should be able to go forward. And I'll talk to the board members and see whether we want to accelerate that service learning discussion if it is if it is confusing our parents and our schools. But again, our thought process was to try to resolve both matters and go to the legislature no later than January on these issues.
Thank you, John. Isaiah, are you good?
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Right on. There you go.
All right, thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, John. Isaiah Uggan of the KUAM news team. Of course, he's our education reporter and quite the dancer on TikTok. So be sure to check out our Team KUAM TikTok. Thank you, Isaiah. There you go. 9 o'clock. We're KUAM FM in Agani, Guam. KUAM TV. Good morning. My name's Chris.